Hey scientists, Caroline here. Welcome to a brand new unit in environmental science. In this unit, we'll start to explore all of the natural resources that we rely on for life. Humans use resources and land space to keep life flourishing, and we'll think about how we can manage these resources sustainably for generations to come. We'll start with a resource that you depend on for survival. In fact, you consume this resource every single day: food. When you sit down for your favorite meal, do you ever wonder where that food came from or what goes into producing our foods? Agriculture is the backbone of our food production system. Without a reliable way to grow crops, we couldn't feed the world's population. In today's lesson, we'll explore the Green Revolution. What was it? How did it reshape agriculture? And most importantly, what were its impacts on soil and sustainability? Are you ready, scientists? Let's dig in. During the Industrial Revolution, agricultural societies transformed into urban societies. The technological advancements of the Industrial Revolution brought rapid population growth. At the same time, more and more people flocked to factory jobs in cities, leaving rural areas behind. What challenges do you think these changes created for farmers? Pause the video here and record your thoughts. As more people moved away from rural areas, they relied on a dwindling number of farmers to feed them, and traditional farming methods simply couldn't produce enough food. Suddenly, farmers had to ask themselves, how could they grow enough food to feed the booming population while the number of farmers shrank? As science and technology flourished, these advancements led to brand new farming practices. The result wasn't a single invention, but a series of changes in farming that transformed the way we produce food forever. The Green Revolution refers to a period of agricultural innovations from the 1940s through the 1980s that led to increased food production. But this revolution wasn't just about feeding more people. It symbolized the power of innovation, how science and technology could solve real-world problems and reshape industries. Let's take a closer look at some of the innovations that changed the future of farming. Take a look at this farmer's field. What do you notice about the crops growing? This entire field contains just one type of plant: wheat. During the Green Revolution, the idea of monoculture became widespread. Mono means one. Instead of growing a wide variety of crops to feed their own family, with monoculture, farmers began focusing on growing a single crop at a time in massive quantities to sell for profit. Additionally, scientists used selective breeding to develop new strains of crops like rice and wheat called high-yield variety crops. These HYV crops produced greater amounts of food than traditional varieties of the plants. Monocultures and HYVs were extremely efficient and led to high yields of food grown. But as farmers started to specialize in just one crop, they also had to provide the right nutrition for huge fields of one crop. How did they do it? Enter the development of synthetic or man-made chemical fertilizers. Fertilizer is like plant food. Crops need nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium to grow. In the past, farmers relied on natural methods like compost or manure to fertilize their fields. During the Green Revolution, synthetic fertilizers became the norm. What do you think is the advantage of making a synthetic fertilizer with a specific blend of nutrients? Pause the video and record your thoughts. Synthetic fertilizers were efficient, and farmers knew exactly which nutrients crops were getting. Sprayers could cover entire fields in fertilizer quickly. These powerful chemical blends added essential nutrients to any soil, allowing crops to grow faster and larger than ever before. In addition to needing a lot of fertilizer, these giant fields also needed a lot of water. To accomplish this, new sprinkler and irrigation systems were developed. Simply put, these systems took water from a source like a lake or underground well and channeled it in tubes to water the plants. The use of motorized pumps and large-scale irrigation canals transformed previously dry regions into fertile farmlands. With irrigation, crops could now thrive, even in areas where rainfall had previously been unreliable. But while fertilizers help plants grow, pests like insects, weeds, and fungi can reduce crop yields. The Green Revolution introduced chemical pesticides to keep these threats under control. If we break this word down into two parts, we get pest and side. The root word side means to cut or kill. So, what do you think pesticides do? That's right. They help kill any pests that damage crops. By spraying chemical pesticides on their fields, farmers could now protect their crops on a much larger scale, preventing devastating losses. All of these practices helped achieve the Green Revolution's goal of producing more food for a growing world. But they weren't without drawbacks, which brings us to our next big question. What impacts did these practices have on soil quality and sustainability? While chemical fertilizers and pesticides, irrigation systems, and monocultures helped produce more food and made farming more efficient, these changes brought about serious environmental impacts. Let's start with soil quality. Synthetic fertilizers gave plants the nutrients they needed to grow quickly, but over time, heavy fertilizer use led to soil degradation, or a loss in quality. Synthetic fertilizers disrupted the natural balance of nutrients in the soil, adding too much nitrogen and depleting other nutrients. Additionally, the chemicals in fertilizers and in pesticides seeped into the soil, harming the organisms that live there, such as earthworms. This prevented these organisms from performing their role of decomposition, which is how essential nutrients are recycled back into the soil after plants die. This means that over time, the soil became more nutrient poor and lost its natural ability to support plants. It also became compacted and more prone to erosion. Imagine a sponge that's been squeezed dry. It just can't hold water or nutrients anymore. Monoculture farming also contributed to soil problems. Before monoculture, rotating through different crops was more common. Because different crops rely on different amounts of each nutrient, rotating the crops would allow the soil to replenish. But monoculture farming didn't allow for that natural balance. Growing the same crop over and over drained the soil of the specific nutrients needed by that crop, creating an unhealthy cycle. Finally, some irrigation techniques increased the salinity, or salt levels, in the soil. Groundwater often contains salts that have dissolved from nearby rocks. When plants take up this water, the salts get left behind, increasing the salinity of the soil and making it difficult for new plants to develop properly. Future crop growth is dependent on healthy, fertile soil. Based on these soil health impacts, do you think these practices were sustainable? Pause the video here and make your prediction. While these practices helped grow crops quickly at first, they aren't sustainable in the long term. As soil quality declines, future crop yield also declines. This reduction in soil health and plant yield is called soil desertification, where a previously fertile land area slowly loses its ability to support life. While these practices were essential to keep up food production in the short term, they had massive long-term consequences. The good news: the story doesn't end here. Understanding these impacts helps us find better solutions for the future. Today we learned about the Green Revolution, a pivotal moment in agricultural history. We explored the key practices that allowed us to produce enough food to meet the needs of a growing population, like monocultures, fertilizers, irrigation, and pesticides. We also discussed the impacts these practices had on soil quality and sustainability. Essentially, the Green Revolution was a lesson in both innovation and consequences. It showed us what humanity can achieve with science and technology, but also reminded us of the importance of caring for our planet's natural resources. The Green Revolution helped meet the needs of people in the short term, but created challenges for future farming. Healthy soil, clean water, and balanced ecosystems are essential for long-term food production, and these were all strained by the practices of the Green Revolution. In our next lesson, we'll explore some sustainable alternatives that aim to protect the environment while still growing enough food for everyone. Until then, remember, every resource we use has an impact on the environment. By making thoughtful, sustainable choices, we can help ensure a healthier planet for future generations. See you next time!
Hey, hey!